Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Q&As. I know this is a little bit early, but some crazy scheduling conflicts this weekend, and so I'm squeezing this in when I'm able to. That's what he said. All right, so let's go ahead and knock this out. First question. Hey Jason, top level athletes can have a resting heart rate of 40 beats per minute. But for the general population who want to have a good level of cardiovascular fitness, what resting heart rate would you consider to be good for someone who exercises regularly but doesn't compete at the highest levels in a sport? Thanks. All right, I'm going to say for general fitness, this is one of those that's going to fall into the category of finding out what medical doctors think is textbook perfect. Textbook perfect is going to be somewhere between 60 and 70 beats per minute as a resting heart rate. And I'm going to say, because that's the textbook and we know that lower is better, that you should be shooting for closer to 60. If your resting heart rate is consistently 60 beats per minute, that is fantastic. It doesn't make you a top level athlete, but it means you are easily in the top percentile there in terms of at least resting heart rate. And then as far as the statistics associated with it and the probability that you're going to have heart disease, you're in the top 1% of the population. And on any health marker statistically, when you're in the top 1% of the population, that's amazing. You don't have to worry about being better than that, even if there is better than that, because you're, from a health and fitness perspective, you're elite. When you start having various health markers in the top 1%, you're good to go. So 60 beats per minute is your target number that you're shooting for there, although 70 is not bad either. If you're at 70 still, you're doing pretty good. You're still way better than average. You probably have a pretty healthy heart, but shoot for 60 as your ideal. All right, next question. What do you think about the bench press slingshot? Does it make you stronger at bench faster? All right, I'm going to catch a little flack for this one because a lot of raw powerlifters have been using this and they like it, they love it, they swear by it. I've owned a slingshot. You guys saw me owning a slingshot when I was training for some single ply lifting in the UK. I bought one. I think it's a useful tool. I think it does have a use for the raw bencher, but it's not for getting stronger at your bench press. I think it is a useful tool for learning technique, bar path, and how to tuck your elbows at the bottom. Because the slingshot pulls your elbows in, it teaches you how to tuck. If you're bad at tucking or you have an incorrect technique there, it will reinforce a proper, safe technique. And so I think it's a valuable learning tool. As far as a training tool goes, not so much. And the reason I say that is because it's just an accommodating resistance tool. And accommodating resistance, again, sometimes might be a decent hypertrophy tool in some situations, but for building maximum strength and power on something like the bench press, it's going to train you to get better at the top. Well, the reality is far less than 1 in 10, if that, of raw bench pressers will ever have a lockout weakness. Those guys who think they have a lockout weakness generally are just slow. They don't press fast enough off the bottom. They don't press quick enough from a dead stop to really be able to lock it out because they're too slow. They have sticking points further down. So because it really is accommodating resistance and it doesn't help you at the weakest point of the bench, the part that's actually going to help you build the most speed and power so that you can lock it out as a raw bencher, the very bottom, I don't think it's that fantastic of an actual training tool. And again, I know that's going to catch me some flack because I know Mark Bell, and I like Mark Bell. I like his personality. I like what he does. I know he's a big YouTuber now in addition to his other super training stuff and his podcast and everything, and this is his patent. He owns it. He sells it, and I've even bought one at full price, mind you, even when I was a YouTuber. And I just don't think it's that great of a tool for the raw bench presser. And you guys have to remember, Mark trained for equip bench pressing for many, many years. That was his forte. That's what he did. He was very, very good at it. And I think this is a fantastic tool for the shirted bencher, the equipped bencher. But for a raw bencher, I think you need to be focusing on pause benching, getting explosive at the bottom. And if you think you really need more tricep strength, I think you need to just do more tricep work. But for the majority of you, that's not going to be a weakness. But I think, again, focusing more on actual tricep work is probably going to be a better option than using accommodating resistance. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a simple way to do accommodating resistance. I think it's easier to set up than bands are. And I think it offers a lot of benefits that bands are. So it's a simpler alternative to doing band work, in my opinion. So for the equipped lifter, is it revolutionary? Yeah, because it's a simpler way to really kind of do band work. So I'll give that to Mark. I would recommend it for that. For the raw bencher, no, not so much. Not as a training tool, but only as a learning tool. And the vast majority of you out there are not concerned with increasing your equipped bench press. You're mostly benching raw no matter what your goals are. Powerlifters, bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts. You're training for raw strength, not equipped strength. So I just don't think it's that useful for them. So there you have it. All right, next question. Working out at home these days, and I don't have a plyo box right now. Are barbell jump squats effective and safe? Obviously using lightweight, and if so, what setup and rep ranges, starting with 3x5? Thanks. Box squats performed correctly are safe and effective. Make sure that you're doing them right. You can watch some tutorials online, look at some strength and conditioning stuff. Are they great for increasing explosiveness, increasing your vertical leap, things like that? Yes, absolutely. They are a tried and true and proven method in the strength and conditioning world. So I absolutely advocate them for increasing your explosiveness and ability to jump. So yeah, you can definitely do them. However, the rep range, the 3x5, that's a problem. And the reason I say that, generally you can only generate maximum explosiveness for 2 to 3 reps before you need a break. Even if that break is 60 seconds or 30 seconds or something short, you're not going to generate maximum explosiveness with those upper threshold fibers more than 3 reps in a row. So accordingly, I don't recommend you go over 3 reps. You could do 3 sets of 3. You could even build up to doing 10 sets of 3, again, with a light weight. And if you do the 10 sets of 3 and it's a light weight and you can get that speed, then you could cut that down to 60-second breaks and be done in 10 minutes with this and have done a tremendous amount of workload and a tremendous amount of work towards increasing your explosiveness and jumping ability. But however you set it up, I just don't recommend that you go over 3 reps. And again, because it's something you're doing repetitively, obviously you're going to want to do multiple sets and you want to stick near 3 reps because, again, you're trying to retrain those highest twitch fibers over and over and over. So you're going to want at least some volume in there when you're using a really lightweight like that. So you're going to want to do triples and obviously multiple sets. But the amount of volume is something that you could modulate and regulate just like with any of your other training. You could periodize it. You could ramp it up over time. So you could start with 3x3 and slowly work your way up 1 session at a time by adding extra sets as long as you can maintain the speed. And when you get to 10x3, maybe you could increase the weight and go back to 3x3. So that's just one method you could use, but there's a lot of other ways you could periodize it. But again, stick with triples. Don't try to do 5 reps. Always video yourself. Make sure your technique and form is safe. There's plenty of resources you can find on this to check that against. And enjoy, have fun, and be safe with it. But it's very effective. All right, next question. Hi, Jason. I wanted to know if you could recommend some ways to correct bad or incorrect squat form, specifically the problem of buttwink. I have struggled with it for years and always end up tweaking my lower back on a tough set, so I wanted to see if you had any pointers. All right, when it comes to buttwink, honestly, I tend to be in the school of thought, and I know this is a controversial school of thought, but I'm in the half of the school of thought that says that buttwink is not a problem. I don't think a small amount of buttwink is a problem at all, and there are plenty of absolutely explosive, powerful squatters who squat ass to grass with buttwink for many, many years who don't experience any lower back injuries. I think the lower back injuries are a result of too much forward lean, and I think they're a result of having too weak of a core and too weak of a lower back. It's not the actual buttwink that is the problem. And for those who don't know what buttwink is, we're talking about basically a tilt of the pelvis to where your pelvis rolls under you at the bottom of the squat, putting your lumbar into more of a curved position instead of that protective arch. Again, as far as it being dangerous on the squat, I think if you're doing it just because you're going so deep, I don't think for most it's a problem. I think what you need to do at that point is work on your forward lean problems and learn to stay more upright. And I think you need to work a lot more on your core strength. So more ab work, more lower back direct work to strengthen those things up. And I think for someone who is seeming to have lower back pains as a result of doing squats, who does have the buttwink going on, rather than try to correct the buttwink, some of the things you could do, actually really high on the list of things I would do, would be to incorporate front squats. because front squats will strengthen your core, and they will be a tool that will force you to learn to be more upright when you squat, because otherwise you start dumping the bar and it becomes impossible to do them. And I'm talking about true front squats with a rack position grip, none of this using one of those harnesses or anything like that, none of this cross grip that damages your shoulders. I'm talking about a rack grip. You do those and you get strong on those, you do some extra core work, and I think you're going to find that your tweaking of your lower back is going to go away even if the buttwink stays. The buttwink issue is there purely as a result of your anatomy and squatting deep. You're not going to be able to correct it other than just squatting higher, which may not be beneficial to your goals anyways. So it's not something you're going to be able to correct the way people think that you can. It's your anatomy when you squat deep personally. Instead, you need to focus on staying more upright so you put less stress on the lower back out of the bottom and strengthening your overall core. And again, front squats, weighted planks, things like that, those are all fantastic exercises to help you there. All right, next question. I ran your novice program followed by madcows and made amazing strength and size gains. I bet you did running those back to back. I then got a lower back injury, which I thought would pass in a few weeks. It's now been a year and I'm still not able to squat or do any horizontal pulling, even after seeing various chiropractors, physios, etc. I lost 9 kilograms and pretty much lost all my gains due to trying to cut body fat while injured and already at a fairly lean body fat. Stupid, I know. I've tried to carry on running a full body program to regain size and strength, but can't row, deadlift, or squat, and trying to get enough volume and workload on my quads, hams, and glutes, along with everything else. A full body would take around 2 hours. So I'm going to run a 4-day upper lower, mainly being unilateral exercises on his lower day, he says. Like the Bulgarian split squats, one leg squats, box jumps, etc. How would I go about programming such training to get as much size and strength, as just adding weight every week would probably be unrealistic with unilateral exercises? Thanks for the great content. All right, you are most welcome. And I do have to say, I love the fact that you've got a lower back injury you're trying to work around, and you're still going to give it 100%. You're going to be coming in training 3 or 4 days a week and working around it without hurting yourself further, and actually picking exercises that are going to allow you to progress and kick ass in the gym in spite of this. So that's the true warrior mentality, and I love seeing that in my viewers, and I'm more than happy to give you some advice here because I really love your attitude and what you're doing there, and I applaud that. Now, that being said, you don't need special programming for these exercises. That's the beauty of most of these exercises you're talking about, these unilateral movements like dumbbell rows, Bulgarian split squats, even leg presses, things like that. You can get in and do these. They're big, heavy movements. You can program them with any standard periodization method. You won't be able to add weight week after week, but neither can anyone on a novice program. Now, that being said, you might be able to run some linear progression early on, but if you can't do that, then run like a linear periodization program. Maybe look at something like my intermediate off-season linear program that I have. Go look into that one. It should be easy to find in my training playlist, and give that a try and program these exercises in there, your one-arm dumbbell rows, your Bulgarian split squats, all those things. Plug those into the calculator I have in that formula and run the progression and the blocks I have in there for the squats and deadlifts and other exercises with these unilateral movements, and I think you're going to find that they're going to program pretty effectively into there as long as you get the initial weights pretty close. And I know it might not seem like it on the Bulgarian split squats, but if you factor your body weight in when you're doing the calculations, like try to get a good estimate of what your body would weigh minus roughly one leg. Just get it in the ballpark and add that to your total, and then program something like that in. And I think that's going to be pretty useful for you. But then things like the one-arm pulling things, you're going to be able to program those just directly. But try my off-season linear periodization program for those. Obviously not using my exercises, but using the progression and the charts and the formulas I have in there for your progress. And I think you're going to find that's going to give you what you're looking for. So that would be my best advice for you on programming those, kind of coming back from where you have been. And I think that's going to do the ticket for you. That's going to give you what you need. And what I would recommend you do is continue to see physios, because if you can get that lower back problem sorted while you're doing all this other strength training around it, you might find that eventually, as long as you keep the heavy weight off of your lower back while you get it worked on by a physio and you rehab everything, eventually you might find that you're going to be able to squat and deadlift normal again. So definitely do not give on your physical, do not give up on the physical therapy stuff. You're going to continue to need that. Don't disregard that, because there's a possibility you're going to be able to come back. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say in part 1. I will continue this for you guys in part 2 with another series of questions, and it should be up here later. So I'll talk to you guys next time.